God bless you, loved ones. Welcome to the Word with Chester. Today we'll begin study in the 41st chapter of the book of Genesis. I am really humbled each time I stand before you because I realize that it was God that gave me this to do, and I want you to know that I appreciate you so very much for logging on. It's a blessing to me to know that you are watching. I encourage you to let me know when you're watching by sending me, hitting the like button when you view this on the internet, or sending me an email or something of that nature. It would be a blessing to me to know that you're watching. We have many ways to find things out. I have many statistics that I can go to show that people are watching in many parts of our world, all the way over in the continent of Africa, Kenya and South Africa, and in South Korea, and Canada, and all over the United States. I have evidence to prove that people are watching in these areas, but I thank God for all of you. It is such a blessing to me to know that you're watching, and God will take my humble means and do something with it. Well, shall we go to the Word of God? We're going to begin reading at verse 1, chapter 41. This is quite a long chapter, so we will have to divide this chapter into 3 sessions, and I encourage you to stay with us because all of them will be important. We're studying the life of Joseph, and a very, very great story, a story that will move you and touch you, to let you know that even though you're going through problems and going through situations, the final end, God has a way of turning it around and blessing you. Many of us have went through problems and we didn't understand why we're going through. This was the case of Joseph. He was sold into slavery, sold by his own kinfolks, by his own brothers, into slavery, and then betrayed after he was a slave in Potiphar's house, betrayed by Potiphar's wife, and lied on, and then put back in the dungeon, and there for a long time. And while in the dungeon, the baker and the chief butler, they had dreams, and Joseph interpreted those dreams. And those dreams came to pass as Joseph interpreted them. And here we find, we're going to the story now, that where Pharaoh had a dream. Now get the picture now. Joseph had talked to the butler and let him know, when you come up out of here, let Pharaoh know about me so that I can get up out of here as well. And the butler, when he first got out, he actually had forgotten and did not tell anybody about Joseph until this incident where we're about to read now. In verse 41, and it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by the river, and behold, there came up out of the river 7 well-favored cows and fatted flesh, and they fed in the meadow. Verse 3, and behold, 7 other cows came up after them out of the river, ill-favored and lean-fleshed, and stood by the other cows upon the brink of the river. Can you understand and get Pharaoh's dream? Shall we continue reading? And the ill-favored and lean-fleshed cows did eat up the 7 well-favored and fat cows. So Pharaoh awoke. A troubling dream. You got to understand, Pharaoh was a king. He was the king of Egypt now, the most powerful man in Egypt. So having this type of dream, can you understand why it would possibly bother him? Well, let's read on in verse 5. And he slept and dreamed the second time, and behold, 7 ears of grain came up upon one stalk, full and good. 7 ears of corn came up on one stalk. In verse 6, and behold, 7 thin ears and blighted with the east wind sprang up after them, and the 7 thin ears devoured the 7 fat and full ears. And Pharaoh woke, and behold, it was a dream. Can you understand? 2 similar dreams using different animals, one using animals and other using vegetables. These dreams came to Pharaoh. Can you understand why he might be troubled? Let's read in verse 8. And it came to pass in the morning that the spirit that his spirit was troubled, and he sent and called for all of the magicians of Egypt and all the wise men thereof. And Pharaoh told them his dream, but there was none that could interpret them unto Pharaoh. Let's continue reading in verse 9. Then spoke the chief butler unto Pharaoh, saying, I do remember my fault this day. Pharaoh was angry with his servant and put me in prison in the captain of the guard's house, both me and the chief butler. Can you understand? Now the butler is recalling what happened while he was in jail, now sharing this with Pharaoh. And we dreamed a dream in one night, and I and he, we dreamed each man according to the interpretation of his dream. And there was there with us a young man, a Hebrew, servant to the captain of the guard. And he told him, and he interpreted to us our dream. To each man according to his dream, he did interpret. Shall we read? And it came to pass, as he interpreted unto us, so it was. And he restored unto mine office, and him he hanged. So get the picture now. The butler recalling all the things that transpired while he was in jail, recalling that Joseph interpreted those dreams, and they came to pass like Joseph interpreted them. Well, get this picture. God always has his timing. He always knows what he's doing. And this particular situation, 2 years had transpired when that happened, but you got to understand, God always knows what he's doing. Sometime when things are happening in our life, God is just setting us up to bless us in the future. We want him to bless us now, but sometimes he sends us through processes, and he's getting ready to bless us in the future, and he's setting up the situation here. You got to understand, in jail, where the butler and the cook was, that was just a setup to let them know that Joseph had this gift and he could interpret the dreams. So getting them ready for the big event where he would interpret Pharaoh's dream. Well, shall we continue reading? Let's read verse 9 and continue. Then spoke the chief butler unto Pharaoh, saying, I do remember my fault this day. Pharaoh was angry, and his servant was put in prison in the captain of the guard's house, both me and the chief baker. Can you get that now? He's recapping and letting them know that all that would happen. I'm going to read quickly. I know I've read this already, but I'm going to read quick it. I want it to stick in your mind, and then we will continue. Let's read verse 10. Pharaoh was angry with his servant and put me in prison in the captain of the guard's house, both me and the chief butler. And we dreamed a dream in one night, and I and he, we dreamed each man according to the interpretation of his dream. And there was there with us a young man, a Hebrew servant to the captain of the guard, and we told him, and he interpreted to us our dream. To each man according to his dream he did interpret. And it came to pass as he interpreted to us, so it was. And he restored unto mine office, and he hanged. In other words, letting Pharaoh know it happened just like this man said. Now let's continue reading in verse 14. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon, and he shaved himself and changed his raiment and came unto Pharaoh, being down in the dungeon, not walking in the cleanliness that he would normally be on the outside as a free man. He got, when they brought him out of the dungeon, he shaved himself, cleaned himself up, took a bath, whatever you say. But why? Because he's going before the king. In verse 15, and Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And I have heard say of thee that thou canst understand a dream to interpret it. Verse 16, and Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, it is not me. God shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace. Can you get what Joseph did now? Joseph always recognizes that this is not me but God. And we have to get that mindset that whatever we do or whatever God uses us in, it's not us but it's Him that does it through us. And this is what Joseph was quick to do, saying, I'm not the one that interprets your dream, but God interprets. God interprets. And we need to know that we need to give glory to God when He uses us. God would even use us more if we would learn how to humble ourselves and know that it's not us, but it's Him. It's all about Him and not about us. And Joseph was quick to know that. And I want you to know that I believe God will use people with that mindset and with that spirit when they know that it's not them, but it's the God that's in them that does whatever work that it is to be done. Well, my friends, we're going to continue this on our next session. Such a wonderful story. You need to be here in every session learning about what God was doing. And we're going to get into some deeper things and let you know the full picture of what God was doing through Joseph's life. Well, I want you to know that I love you, my friends. I love you with the love of the Lord. If you would like to contact me for any reason, you can reach me at the Word with Chester Ministries, Post Office Box 200483, San Antonio, Texas, 78220. You can also reach me at my website, www.poemsbychester.com. That's Poems by Chester.com. Also, remember that we have our CD. When you buy this CD, you will be blessed because the music is God inspired and you will be a blessing to this ministry. Remember, I love you, my friends. I love you with the love of the Lord. God bless you.